From time to time, all leaders and managers will face situations which they anticipate that they will be difficult, or they may feel that they are ill-equipped for these situations. And some of these scenarios can be when you need to address underperformance, or maybe poor performance, or when you need to tackle instances of unacceptable behavior at the workplace, or when you have to give developmental feedback to your team, or maybe turn down employee requests, or deal with sensitive personal issues, or maybe handle a grievance or a disciplinary process, or telling an employee that their job is at risk of redundancy. In all these situations, you will need to have a conversation, even if you are not ready to do so, even if you don't want to do them. And all of these will be difficult or unpleasant conversations. And whether you like it or not, as a leader or a manager, you will need to prepare yourself and have these difficult conversations at multiple occasions at your workplace, depending upon the nature and criticality of that situation. Initiating a difficult conversation can feel daunting, and there is a natural tendency for all leaders and managers to delay taking action in the hope that the issue will be resolved somehow without their intervention. But that is rarely the case. And procrastination won't make those problems disappear, and in fact, if issues are ignored, they are likely to escalate and they may become more difficult to resolve, which can cause negative consequences both for all those who are involved in the situation and for your organization. So it's far better to tackle problems at an early stage and prevent the situation from deteriorating, and to also maintain good working relationships with your colleagues. We all tend to put off difficult conversations because of the intensity and the complexity of emotions that they can arouse, both for the manager initiating the conversation and for the people who are involved, or the people that you are speaking to. Fear of how people will react and whether you will be able to handle their reactions, feelings of vulnerability or concern about a loss of control can make us all reluctant to raise an issue face to face. You may even be concerned that you may not get the support from your senior managers, your team, or other colleagues if you take steps to address these kind of sensitive issues. However, by adopting the right approach and preparing yourself carefully and developing the right skills and mindset and behaviors, you will be able to maximize your ability to handle such a difficult conversation effectively and also steer it to a successful conclusion that is acceptable to all those who are involved. And so in this video, let us explore a little bit in depth on how to identify difficult conversations. Why is it necessary to have these difficult conversations? Or in other words, why you shouldn't avoid them? When to have them at the right time? How can you prepare? And some tips or guidance on how you can make a difficult discussion productive, as well as also arrive at a positive outcome. But before we begin, I would request you to like this video so that it stays with you as your useful reference, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel, because we regularly post content to help you grow, succeed, and find solutions to your business, career, and life situations. So let's start with understanding what is a difficult conversation. In the workplace, a difficult conversation is one in which you have to manage emotions and information in a sensitive way to deal with a particular workplace issue. And a difficult conversation may involve topics that you don't want to talk about, or situations where you are not sure what to say, or conflicting opinions, or circumstances where the outcome is uncertain. Or in simple terms, any discussion or those discussions which make you feel uncomfortable. As a manager or a leader, it is likely that you will need to have difficult conversations from time to time, and this is normal. For example, you may find it difficult to have a conversation about poor employee performance or behavior, or complaints and grievances at the workplace, or giving some bad news such as ending employment or advising unsuccessful job applicants, or maybe addressing conflicts or communicating tough decisions. Difficult conversations are a normal part of life, and the best way to handle a difficult issue is to actually deal with it. Honest conversations are critical for leaders and managers, and if they are handled well, these conversations provide you with an opportunity to resolve workplace conflicts quickly and efficiently, lift or elevate or improve employee performance, improve employee engagement, and improve overall relationships within your team and the organization. And of course, to avoid further complicating or increasing the problem at your hand. Many people avoid difficult conversations in the workplace because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Even experienced managers can find these conversations daunting despite being an important part of their role. We often make excuses to avoid difficult conversations such as I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, now is not the right time, everyone makes mistakes sometimes, I don't have the time, what's the point, there's never a good outcome, the problem will fix itself, etc. etc. In fact, avoiding the problem may prolong the problem. It may give the impression that there is no problem and deny the people a chance to improve. It can damage the productivity and efficiency of your business. It can reduce your employee engagement. It can reduce the confidence of your people in your ability to manage. It can lead to lower morale amongst team members and also contribute to employee turnover. So it's essential for managers to have the skills, knowledge, and confidence to identify and manage problems at their workplace early on before they become more complicated or before they become more escalated. So when is the right time or the appropriate time to have a difficult conversation? See, when a problem arises, you need to decide whether a conversation is really needed. A conversation may not be required in every case. For example, if the problem is trivial or temporary, you may not wish to draw your attention to it. Next, you need to decide if you are the best person to initiate the conversation. For example, you may like to assess if it is more appropriate to involve a more senior manager or leader or the human resources team. If you do need to have the conversation, it's much easier to do so as soon as you start to have concerns about the issue or you see the early signs of conflict. The worse a situation becomes, the harder it can be to manage and resolve, and people and productivity may get affected. So the best communication strategy at work is to have regular informal one-on-one conversations so that the issues can be dealt with as naturally as possible. You need to be approachable with your team and keep in touch with your people and your team members. If they see that you are approachable and you are ready to listen, they are also more likely to come to you with problems before they escalate. How should you prepare for a difficult conversation? Before you start preparing for the conversation, ensure that you have a clear understanding of the problem that you want to resolve. And you need to ask yourself questions like this. Why do you want to have the conversation? What's important to you? What do you want to achieve? Is the outcome that you're expecting realistic? You need to have realistic expectations. If you're having a conversation about something that is important, you need to plan ahead and ensure that you're not casual about it. Because a casual approach may trivialize the issue or it may appear disrespectful to the person that you are having the conversation with. So write down the key points that you will need to cover so that you can keep your conversation on track and stay in control. And while preparing it, it will be helpful for you to think about questions like, what is the purpose of this conversation? What outcome do you want? For example, an improvement in performance or a change in behavior. What information do you need from the person that you're having this conversation with? What questions do you need to ask to obtain this information? How will you think that the person will react? And finally, what solutions are you proposing to resolve the matter? And now let's look at some of the useful tips and guidance on how to have these difficult conversations, and these tips will be very useful for you. The first is that you need to ensure that you stick to the facts. While we are all entitled to our feelings, it is best to keep these kind of conversations based on facts alone. So it's helpful to try to separate what you know from what you feel. And a great way to do this is to think about how the other person or on the receiving end might feel about the things that you would like to say to them. This will help you to put your thoughts together as objectively as possible as you eliminate any kinds of projections or assumptions. Another great way to do this is to think about what kind of advice you would give to a friend in a similar position. So sticking to the facts can be especially helpful when it comes to having difficult conversations with employees, team members, where you want to give some kind of constructive feedback. The next is to understand and explain the impact. It's helpful to not only outline the behavior or words that may not have sat well with you, but also to explain their impact. And you can describe the impact of the behavior. This is where you can share how you feel. When I coach people on managing workplace situations, particularly on what they say, describing the impact of someone's behavior, I often ask them, what's the impact of that? And then they will respond and I will say, but what's the impact of that? And it takes a bit to get to that core thing, the most measurable impact of this kind of behavior. The next is to ensure that you are listening actively. In these kind of conversations, it's really important that you keep an open mind so that you can listen to the other side of the story. So make sure that you are not so closed off that you're not fully listening to what the other side or your manager or leader or employee is explaining. Your thoughts and feelings are just as important as the other person's, and it's important to show respect to the other person by listening actively to what they have to say. And here, non-verbal communications such as good eye contact are important. So you can also probe more questions if you'd like to better understand the other person's perspective. Next is to try and find a solution together, and that's where mutuality comes into play. While there may be some kind of disagreement between you and the person that you're addressing or communicating with, it's important that you both try to work up a solution or find a way to move forward together. Nothing is worse than delivering a critique and leaving it just like that. You want to clearly explain the reason for this kind of conversation and offer suggestions to improve. So if you're telling an employee that they aren't getting a pay raise, explain why and let them know what they need to work on to make that raise a possibility. Even if the conversation is to remove an employee, you should still offer a suggestion that will help them improve in their forthcoming job. And finally, document any decisions and important takeaways from your conversation. In order to conclude your difficult conversation effectively, it's a good idea and a best practice to document any decisions that have been made as well as any important takeaways. In documenting this conversation and putting it on paper in black and white, you are holding both yourself and the other person involved in this conversation accountable and responsible for whatever has been agreed upon. And this way, should you need to, You can refer back to the documentation of the conversation with specific numbers and data or examples and other resources that may be helpful to track and trace this. I hope you found this video useful. Please give us a like and also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done already, as we regularly post content to help you grow, succeed, and find solutions to your business, career, and life situations. Thanks for watching.